Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Easy English Bible Study Podcast. My name is David Gray, and together we're going to read the Bible, and I will make some easy to understand comments. Okay, let's get started. Hi again. Welcome again to the podcast. Today we're looking at the Gospel of John. It's the fourth Sunday of Easter. The fourth Sunday of Easter. We're looking at the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verses 1 to 10. The Gospel of John, chapter 10, verses 1 to 10. And the title is The Good Shepherd and His Sheep. Okay, let's read verse 1. Very truly I tell you, Pharisees, anyone who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. Just before this reading in chapter 9, there's a very negative confrontation between the Pharisees and Jesus. Jesus is basically saying that they are spiritually blind, okay, that they can't see the truth. He says that to the Pharisees, so it's very negative. And here, he's talking to the Pharisees again, and he's talking about sheep and a shepherd. The sheep are the people who want to follow God, and the shepherd is the leader. Okay, so religious leader. So Jesus says, if you do not enter by the sheep pen, by the gate, if you climb in a different way, you are a thief or a robber. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. So only the one who does it the right way is the shepherd. Jesus is saying that they are thieves and robbers if they are not leading the sheep the way God wants them to. The way God wants them to. If they're not being good leaders. Let's look at verse 3. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. So in this part of the world, the sheep are led by the shepherd. They listen to the shepherd's voice. They're not driven from behind. They are led from in front. The shepherd is at the front. Verse 4, when he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. Jesus used this figure of speech, but the Pharisees did not understand what he was telling them. So Jesus is talking about them. This also can apply, or this can be about any spiritual leader who's not being a good spiritual leader, a bad spiritual leader. I think it's important. I'm going to read verse 7. Therefore, Jesus said again, very truly, I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. Okay, so he is the gate. Jesus is saying, I am the gate. Now, the Pharisees would understand that in the Bible, in the Old Testament talks about people as being like a sheep, leaders as being shepherds. In fact, there's a famous Bible reading in the Old Testament in Ezekiel chapter 34. Ezekiel also talks about bad leaders, and they are selfish. They don't take care of the weak. They don't take care of the sheep that are needy, that need help. They're selfish shepherds, and God is angry about them. So the Pharisees would know about this symbolism, this metaphor of sheep being the people who follow God and shepherds being the leader. Jesus is saying, I am the gate. Then verse 8, all who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. So the people who came before him, what does he mean? Does he mean the prophets in the Old Testament? No. He means false prophets. He means religious leaders that are not good. Okay, the religious leaders who are not good. Verse 9, I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. Okay. And I'm just going to read one more verse. This reading is until verse 10, but I'm going to read verse 11. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. Okay. So Jesus is saying to the bad leaders, the bad, selfish leaders who were the Pharisees, that they are not good shepherds of the sheep. They are not good leaders of the people. And yet later he says that he is the good shepherd. So he's being very strong here, very direct or straight. You could say he's being very confrontational and telling them through this symbolism, through this story, that they are bad leaders and he is a good leader. What's interesting, and that's the end of the reading, I just want to talk to you a little bit about something that's interesting. In the Old Testament, if you go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 34, it talks about bad leaders, that God is upset with the bad religious leaders, that they're selfish and they don't take care of the weak. They're bad shepherds of Israel. And then God is so frustrated, God is so upset, he says that I myself will look after my sheep. And in verse 23, I'm going to read verse 23 to you from Ezekiel chapter 34, verse 23, it says, I will place over them one shepherd, my servant David, and he will tend them. He will tend them and be their shepherd. In verse 24, I, the Lord, will be their God, and my servant David will be prince among them. I, the Lord, have spoken. So this is talking about the same things that Jesus talked about. This is written long before Jesus. And it's a prophecy that is about Jesus, that God himself will be the shepherd through Jesus. And he's saying through my servant David. David doesn't mean King David, because King David had died 400 years before this. It's about Jesus, because Jesus, his family comes from the tribe or the group of David. So Jesus is from the same line or lineage of David. So it's about Jesus. It's a prophecy that God will have Jesus be the shepherd. This is from the Old Testament. So this is a warning, and bad shepherds could be a bad religious leader. It could be also about Satan or the devil, right? It could be about that as well. At the end of our reading today, chapter 10, verse 10, it says again, I'm going to read it again. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. We know that Satan comes only to steal and kill and destroy, right? And then it says, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. Jesus has come so that we would have life to the full life. Okay, so that's the reading for today about sheep and shepherds and Jesus. And Jesus is our good shepherd. Here, later in this chapter, Jesus talks about how he would lay down his life for his sheep. He would die for his sheep. He would die. And we know that he did die for us on the cross. We also know that in another part of the New Testament, Jesus talks about that if a sheep is lost, wouldn't you leave the other sheep and go look for that sheep? And I'm reminded of a picture that you see, the kind of art that you see where Jesus is holding a sheep on his shoulders. And, Jesus would do that for you. Jesus would do that for me. He, if we are lost, spiritually lost, Jesus, God, looks for us and finds us and brings us back. Jesus is the good shepherd. So I'm reminded of that kind of picture. If you have not seen that kind of picture, I'm sure you can find something on the internet. Jesus finds the sheep, or the good shepherd finds the sheep, and it's very beautiful. Well, thank you for listening today. How about you? When you listen to this Bible verse, what kind of thoughts do you have about a good shepherd and the sheep? Thank you for listening. If you want to contact me, you can email me at easyenglishbiblestudy@gmail.com. The address again, easyenglishbiblestudy@gmail.com. All right. Thank you for listening. God bless you.